The fall from the sky the day started like any other. Ethan stood by the river, skipping stones across the calm water. The sun was warm, the air fresh, and the gentle sound of the flowing river was almost enough to make him forget about the busy week he'd had. He came here often. This quiet place felt like his own little world, far away from noise and people. But today, it would not stay quiet. A sound cut through the air. At first, Ethan thought it was a bird hype, chipped sharp. But then it came again, louder this time. It wasn't a bird. It was a scream. A desperate, panicked scream. Ethan's head snapped up. His eyes searched the old bridge that crossed the river upstream. Something smaller figure was clinging to the railing. The figure's skin shimmered strangely in the sunlight, almost like glass. And then, in a single heartbeat, it fell. "Hey!" Ethan shouted, though he knew the figure couldn't hear him over the rush of the river. There was no time to think. The current below was strong, and the rocks were sharp. He saw the small figure hit the water with a splash, arms flailing. Whoever it was couldn't swim. Ethan kicked off his shoes and dove in. The cold water hit him like a wall, stealing his breath. The current pulled hard, dragging him downstream, but he forced his arms forward, kicking with everything he had. The figure was drifting fast, its head going under. He reached out, missed, then tried again. This time, his hand closed around a small, trembling wrist. He pulled the figure close, wrapping his arm around its waist. It was so light, almost weightless in the water. Together, they fought toward the shore. Every stroke burned his muscles, but he didn't let go. Finally, Ethan's feet touched the riverbed. He dragged them both out of the water, gasping for air, and collapsed onto the grass. For a moment, all he could hear was the pounding of his own heart. Then, slowly, the small figure moved. It was a girl, but not an ordinary girl. She was tiny, taller than his chest. Her skin shimmered faintly, like moonlight reflecting off glass. Her hair was silver white, wet, and clinging to her face. Her eyes, they were unlike anything he had ever seen. Large, bright, and glowing faintly blue, as if lit from inside. She coughed weakly, then looked straight at him. Her lips trembled. As she spoke in a soft, almost musical voice, "You caught me." Ethan nodded, still catching his breath. "Yeah, you fell from the bridge? Are you hurt?" She didn't answer his question. Instead, she reached out with a trembling hand and touched his chest, right over his heart. "You're my husband now," she whispered. Ethan froze. "Wait, what?" Her eyes stayed locked on his, and in that moment, he noticed something strange. The glowing in her eyes pulsed in time with his heartbeat. He didn't know why, but it made his skin prickle. Before he could say anything else, the girl swayed and collapsed against him. She was shivering, her body cold from the water. Instinctively, he wrapped his jacket around her. She was so light. In his arms, like holding a child, yet her face looked older, maybe 15, maybe older. It was hard to tell with whatever she was. "Okay, let's get you warm," he muttered, standing up. He carried her away from the riverbank, heading toward the small wooden cabin he kept nearby. His mind was racing. Who was she? Why had she called him her husband? And why did she look not human? Inside the cabin, he laid her gently on the couch and covered her with a thick blanket. She watched him with those strange, glowing eyes, never blinking. "You saved me," she said again, her voice a little stronger now. Ethan gave a small smile. "Yeah, that's what people do." Her gaze didn't waver. "People? You." Before he could ask what she meant, she suddenly sat up and looked toward the window. Her whole body went tense. "They will come," she whispered. Ethan frowned. "Who?" She didn't answer. Instead, she grabbed his hand and squeezed it tightly. Her skin was warm now, almost burning against his. promise you won't let them take me." He began, but then he noticed something outside. A shadow moved across the sky. Not a cloud, not a bird. It was smooth, silent, and shaped like nothing he had ever seen. It passed over the trees, blocking the sunlight for a moment, before vanishing. Ethan's stomach tightened. Whatever was going on, it wasn't normal. The girl's grip tightened on his hand. "Please," she whispered, her voice trembling. "You are my mate now. You must protect me." Ethan didn't understand any of it. Husband, mate, they. "We'll come," but something in her eyes told him this wasn't a game. And somewhere, deep inside, he already knew. This was only the beginning. The strange bond. Ethan didn't sleep that night. Every time he closed his eyes, he thought of the strange girl on his couch, small, silver-haired, glowing-eyed, and claiming to be his husband. She had barely spoken since they saw the shadow in the sky. Now she sat wrapped in a blanket, knees pulled to her chest, watching the crackling fire. She didn't blink much. Her gaze stayed sharp, like she was listening to something he couldn't hear. Finally, Ethan broke the silence. "So, do you have a name?" She hesitated, then nodded slowly. "Lyra." "Lyra," he repeated, tasting the unfamiliar sound. "Okay, Lyra. What happened back there? Why were you on the bridge?" Her eyes softened for a moment. "I was running." "From what?" She looked toward the window again, as if checking the dark sky. "From them?" Ethan leaned forward. "Who's them?" She shook her head. "If I tell you, they will know." That made no sense. "Know what?" "Lyra, I'm just trying." "Two." She suddenly reached out and touched his hand. The moment her skin met his, a strange warmth spread through him, not just in his hand, but all the way to his chest. It was like a slow heartbeat pulsing through both of them at once. "You are linked to me now," she said softly. "It happened when you caught me, in my people's way. Saving my life means you are my life-bonded mate." Ethan blinked. "You're what?" "My husband," she corrected. "T's law." Ethan leaned back, running a hand through his hair. "Yeah, on my planet, we don't exactly have that rule." Lyra tilted her head. "Your planet," she echoed. "You speak as if you are not part of mine." That one sentence hit him like a punch. "You mean? You're not from Earth?" he asked, already knowing the answer. She didn't smile, didn't laugh. She simply said, "No." Ethan stood and paced the room. "Okay, I don't even know what this is. You fell from the sky. Now you're telling me you're my wife, and you're not even human." Her glowing eyes followed him. "You do not believe me?" "I don't know what to believe," he admitted before Lyra could respond. The cabin lights flickered. Once, twice. Then the fire sputtered like a sudden gust of wind had passed through. Lyra's expression hardened. "They are close." Ethan grabbed a flashlight and peeked through the window. At first, nothing. Then, in the distance, beyond the trees, a faint blue glow moved slowly, like it was searching. "Is that them?" he asked. Lyra stood. Her movements were light and graceful, but tense. "Drones. Hunters. If they see me with you, they will take you too." Ethan's jaw tightened. "So what do I just hand you over?" Her eyes widened, hurt flashing across her face. "If they take me, you will die." Ethan stared. "What?" "The bond is real," she said firmly. "Our life energies are joined. If one of us is harmed, the other will feel it. If one of us dies, both of us die." Ethan's stomach dropped. "You're telling me I'm stuck in this with you?" She gave the smallest nod. "Until death." He rubbed his face, muttering, "Great. Just great." But then he noticed her trembling. Not from the cold, he had given her a blanket. From fear. The same girl who had looked unshaken in front of the fire was now glancing toward the door like a trapped animal. Ethan took a deep breath. All right, we stay quiet. We keep the lights off. And tomorrow, we figure out what's going on. Lyra looked at him for a long moment, as if trying to read his soul. Then she whispered, "You could leave me here and be free." Ethan almost laughed. Free. You just said if you die, I die. Doesn't sound like leaving is an option. Her lips curved into the faintest smile. So you stay, he sighed. Yeah. I guess I stay. They moved deeper into the cabin, away from the windows. Lyra sat close to him, still wrapped in the scarf. Still wrapped in the blanket. She didn't take her eyes off him, and it made him uneasy. It was like she was memorizing every detail of his face. What? He asked finally. You don't feel it? She whispered. Feel what? The bond. It is warm. It is safe. I like it. Ethan looked away, unsure what to say to that. Outside, the faint hum of the drones passed over the cabin, the sound vibrating through the wooden walls. Lyra stiffened. Gripping his arm tightly, the humming grew louder. Then slowly faded into the distance. They stayed silent for minutes after the noise was gone. Then Lyra relaxed slightly, leaning her head against his shoulder. You smell like the river, she murmured. Thanks, Ethan said dryly, but she wasn't teasing. It reminds me, you caught me. No one has ever caught me before. Voice was so soft he almost didn't hear it. And for the first time, Ethan realized she wasn't just strange, she was alone. Terribly alone. He didn't understand her world, her rules, or what kind of trouble was hunting her. But one thing was clear. If he let her go, she wouldn't survive. And maybe just maybe neither would he. The chase begins. The morning came too quickly. Ethan hadn't really slept. Every creak of the wooden cabin, every whisper of wind outside made him think the strange blue lights would return. Lyra, on the other hand, had sat quietly all night, barely moving. Her glowing eyes watching the window like a predator. When the first light of dawn touched the trees, Ethan made coffee. Lyra didn't drink it, but she cupped her hands around the mug as if she liked the warmth. We can't stay. Here, Ethan said at last. If those SH drones come back, they'll find us. Lyra nodded slowly. They will. They follow my life scent. Ethan frowned. Life scent. It is in the air, she explained. Like a trail. Machines can smell it. Great. So hiding was useless. Then we have to move, he said. There's an old logging trail through the forest. It leads to a cave, system deep and dark. We could hide there. Lyra tilted her head. You would hide with me. He gave her a look. Didn't you say if you die, I die? She gave a small smile, but it didn't reach her eyes. Yes, but most humans would still run. I'm not most humans, Ethan said simply. They left the cabin within the hour. The forest was quiet at first, birds singing, leaves rustling, but every now and then, Ethan caught Lyra glancing up through the trees, her ears twitching slightly at sounds he couldn't hear. They moved fast, avoiding open ground. Twice, they stopped and hid behind fallen logs as a faint humming passed overhead. Blue searchlights swept between the trees. Scanning for movement, the second time it happened, Lyra's hand gripped his arm so tightly her nails dug into his skin. Her eyes glowed brighter, like she was ready to run. But the lights moved on, and the hum faded into silence. Ethan let out a slow breath. They're not giving up, are they? No, Lyra said quietly. They cannot. If I am not returned, there will be war. That made him stop walking. War? With who? My people, she said simply. I am not normal. My blood is royal. Ethan stared at her. You're a princess. Her lips pressed together as if she didn't like the word. In your language? Yes. Ethan almost laughed, but the seriousness in her eyes stopped him. So what? You were running away from your palace or something? I was escaping a marriage, Lyra said, her voice hardening. They promised me to a warlord to end a conflict. But I will not be traded like an object. And saving you made me your husband. Ethan asked. Yes, she said simply. Now the warlord will want you dead. And my family will want you captured. Ethan rubbed his forehead. Fantastic. Everyone wants me dead now. Lyra's expression softened. Only because you are important to me. Before Ethan could reply, a sharp metallic noise cracked through the air. S-H-H-H-K-K. He turned and froze. One of the drones was right there, hovering just above the tree line. It was larger than he'd imagined, sleek and black, with a single glowing blue eye in the center. The air around it buzzed faintly. Run, Lyra whispered. They sprinted through the forest. The drone followed, weaving between trees, its blue light scanning the ground. Twice, a burst of heat singed Ethan's side as a beam shot past him. They broke through a line of bushes, and ahead, Ethan saw the dark opening of a cave. There? He shouted. They dove inside just as another beam seared the stone wall. The drone hovered at the cave entrance but didn't follow. Instead, it stayed there, humming like a wasp. They cannot enter here, Lyra whispered, breathing hard. Why not? Ethan asked. This is old ground, sacred to my people. Machines are forbidden. Ethan leaned against the wall, catching his breath. Then, I guess we stay here. Lyra didn't answer. She was looking deeper into the cave, her expression unreadable. There is something here, she murmured. She moved forward, the faint light from her eyes guiding the way. Ethan followed his footsteps, echoing. The cave widened into a chamber, and in the center stood something strange as smooth. Stone-like arch, covered in glowing symbols. What is that? Ethan asked. A gate, Lyra whispered. A path to my world. Ethan stared at it. Waitor. Saying that thing leads to your home. Yes, she said. But it is not safe. He frowned. Safe from what? Lyra turned to him slowly. Safe from me. Before Ethan could ask what she meant, the hum outside grew louder. More drones. Dozens, maybe hundreds. The sound filled the forest like a swarm of bees. They know, Lyra said, her voice shaking. They know we are together. Ethan's heart pounded. The only way out was deeper into the unknown, nor straight into the arms of the enemy. And in that moment, he realized something terrifying. No matter which choice he made, there was no going back. A dangerous decision. The cave felt alive. The glowing arch in the center pulsed faintly, the light moving like a slow heartbeat. Ethan could feel a strange vibration in the air, like the stone itself was humming. Lyra stood before it, her silver hair glowing faintly in the dim light. Her eyes fixed on the symbols. Outside, the drone swarm buzzed louder. The sound filled the entrance like a wall of angry hornets. Ethan didn't have to look to know they were waiting, sealing them in. This gate, Ethan said, it goes to your world, right? Then why are we still standing here? Lyra didn't answer immediately. Her hand hovered over one of the glowing symbols, her face tense. Because once we cross, there is no returning, and my world will be worse. Worse than that. Ethan jerked a thumb toward the buzzing outside. She turned to face him. Yes. Out there, they will kill us quickly. In my world, they will keep us alive. Her tone made him uneasy, and that's bad. Her gaze lowered. It means they will make you fight, or chain you, or use you as a weapon because of the bond. Ethan blinked. Weapon? What are you talking about? Lyra stepped closer, lowering her voice. The life bond gives us shared strength, pain, endurance, even healing. You are human, but with me, you will be something else that makes you valuable. Ethan let out a dry laugh. Valuable. Sounds like I'll just be a prize for whoever catches me. Yes, she admitted softly. They stood in silence for a moment. The only sound, the hum of the swarm and the low thrum of the arch. Finally, Ethan said, "Okay. So what's the third option?" Lyra frowned. "There is no third option." "There's always a third option," Ethan said. "We just haven't found it yet." He paced, looking at the walls of the cave, searching for another exit. But the stone was smooth, the chamber closed. The only way out was the swarm. Or the gate. Suddenly, the humming outside shifted. Louder, closer. The drones were pushing forward. Ignoring whatever sacred rule Lyra had mentioned earlier, her eyes widened. "They are breaking the law." Ethan cursed under his breath. "Looks like we're out of time." Lyra grabbed his wrist. "If we go through, you must let me speak for you. You must not show fear." Ethan raised an eyebrow. "And if I do show fear," her voice was almost a whisper, "they will tear you from me." The words sent a chill down his spine. He glanced toward the entrance, where faint blue light was spilling into the cave. Shadows moved along the walls. The swarm was coming. Ethan took a deep breath. "All right, let's do it." Lyra stepped to the arch and pressed her hand against one of the glowing symbols. The light flared brighter, the air rippling like heat over asphalt. The center of the arch filled with swirling silver mist. "Stay close," she said. They stepped forward together, the mist swallowing them whole. The world on the other side was blinding. Ethan stumbled, blinking against the sudden glare. The air smelled different, sweet, sharp, and full of energy. They stood on a wide marble platform surrounded by tall spires of crystal that shimmered like frozen lightning. Above them, a sky of deep violets swirled with streaks of gold. For a moment, Ethan forgot to breathe. "This is your world." Lyra's voice was tight. One small part of it, a shout, cut through the air. Ethan turned to see a group approaching, tall figures in armor that gleamed like molten silver, carrying long spears tipped with glowing blue metal. Their faces were hidden behind smooth masks, but their eyes visible through narrow slits glowed. The same as Lyra's, they stopped several paces away, forming a circle. One stepped forward, his voice deep and commanding. "Princess Lyra, you return." Lyra lifted her chin. "I return with my chosen mate." The soldiers glanced at each other. The leader's gaze shifted to Ethan, scanning him from head to toe. "Human," he said, like it was a curse. "You dare touch royal blood." Ethan didn't speak, remembering Lyra's warning. He kept his expression steady, even though his heart was hammering. Lyra stepped in front of him. "He saved my life. By the law of the old bond, he is mine." The soldiers murmured, clearly unsettled. The leader tilted his head. "The council will decide if your claim stands." Before Lyra could respond, a new sound filled the air, a sharp, echoing cry from above. Ethan looked up and saw it, a sleek black ship descending toward the platform. Its hull marked with jagged crimson lines. Lyra's face went pale. The warlord Dathan didn't need to ask which one. He could feel the air change, heavy with tension. The soldiers shifted, gripping their spears tighter. The leader's voice was grim. "Princess, the warlord has come for you. This will not end without blood." Lyra's hand found Ethan's, squeezing hard. "Then stay with me," she whispered. "No matter what happens." Ethan glanced at the black ship lowering toward them, and for the first time since this began, he understood something. The drones, the chase, the danger, none of it compared to what was coming next. Hunted across worlds, the black ship touched down on the marble platform with a hiss of steam. Its hull gleamed like polished obsidian, the jagged crimson lines glowing faintly, as if alive. The air around it vibrated with a deep hum, and Ethan felt the hair on his arms rise. The soldiers around them stiffened. Even without seeing inside, Ethan could feel the weight of whoever was coming. Lyra's hand tightened on his until her knuckles turned white. The ship's ramp lowered and heavy. Footsteps echoed across the platform. A tall figure emerged broad-shouldered, wearing armor as dark as the ship itself, edged with red. His helmet was shaped like a predator's skull. The glowing red eyes fixed directly on Lyra. When he spoke, his voice rumbled like distant thunder. "Princess Lyra, you have run far, but not far enough." Lyra didn't move, or did not run. "I escaped." The warlord stepped closer, his shadow falling over both of them, and yet, here you are returning with a human. His tone dripped with disgust. "Do you mock our traditions?" "He saved me," Lyra said firmly. "By the law of the old bond, he is my mate." The warlord's gaze shifted to Ethan. "You? Step forward." Ethan stayed where he was. "I said step forward," the warlord repeated, his voice sharp as a blade. Ethan met his gaze, or at least the glowing red eyes of the helmet. "I'm fine right here." A ripple of murmurs passed through the alien. "Soldiers." The warlord's head tilted slightly, as if he was studying a strange insect. "You have courage," he said slowly. "Or you are too foolish to know fear." "Maybe both," Ethan replied before he could stop himself. That earned him a low, rumbling laugh. But it wasn't friendly. "Do you know what happens to those who take what is mine?" She is not yours," Ethan said sharply. The warlord's voice dropped. "She was promised to me, her life, her blood, her power, and now you stand in my place." Lyra stepped between them. "The bond is sealed. You cannot take him without killing me." The warlord's hand twitched toward the massive blade at his side. "That can be arranged." The leader of the silver-armored guards stepped forward, his voice stern. "The council must decide this. No blood will be spilled on sacred ground." The warlord's eyes glowed brighter. For a long moment, Ethan thought he would attack anyway. But finally, the warlord stepped back. "Very well. Let the council decide. But I will have my trial." Lyra's breath caught. "No, yes," the warlord said, his voice almost pleased. "The trial of worth. Let your human prove himself before the eyes of your people. If he survives, he may keep you. If not, you are mine." Ethan's stomach sank. What kind of trial? The warlord's grin was audible in his voice. "One that will break you." They were taken to the heart of the alien city. Ethan barely had time to take it in towering crystal spires. Streets of smooth stone glowing faintly beneath their feet. Crowds of aliens watching with silent, intense eyes. The air was warm, charged, with something that made his skin prickle lead. At the center of the city stood an arena carved into a massive ring of black stone. The stands were full, every seat taken by silent watchers. The sky above was deep violet, streaked with gold clouds. Ethan was led to the center, Lyra at his side. The warlord stood opposite them, surrounded by his own guards. The leader of the silver-armored soldiers raised his voice so all could hear. "The trial of worth begins. The human will face the three tests: strength, endurance, and spirit. If he fails, the bond is broken, and the princess returns to her promised." The crowd murmured. Ethan swallowed hard. "And if I win?" The leader's gaze was steady. "Then the bond stands, and no one may challenge it again." Lyra touched Ethan's hand. "You don't have to." "Yes, I do," Ethan said quietly. For both of us. Her eyes softened, and for a moment, the noise of the arena faded. Then I will be with you, in every heartbeat. The first test began without warning. A massive gate opened, and a creature stepped into the arena beast the size of a truck, covered in black scales, with 6 legs and a jaw full of razor teeth. Its eyes glowed the same blue as the drone's. Ethan froze for half a second. Oh, you've got to be kidding me. The warlord's voice boomed across the arena. Show us. Your strength, human. The beast roared and charged, trial of the husband. The beast's roar shook the arena. Ethan's heart pounded as the massive creature charged, each of its 6 legs pounding the black stone floor. Its jaws opened wide, revealing rows of sharp, glass-like teeth. The crowd fell silent, their glowing eyes fixed on him. He had no weapon, no armor, only his fists and the pounding in his chest. Ethan Lyra's voice cut through the noise. Remember the bond? Feel me. He didn't have time to ask what she meant. The beast lunged. Instinct took over. He dove to the side, the monster's teeth snapping shut where his head had been a second earlier. The ground cracked under its weight. Ethan rolled to his feet. Yeah, great tip, Lyra. Any more? Her voice rang in his head, clear and urgent. Move with me. Let me guide you. He froze for a heartbeat. Was she? Inside his mind? But then his body moved. Because he thought, but because she willed it. His legs carried him left, just as the beast's tail swept through the air. Where he had been, it was like dancing with someone who knew every step before it happened. The beast lunged again. This time, Ethan ducked under its legs, grabbed a loose shard of black stone from the ground, and drove it into the softer flesh under its belly. The creature let out a deafening screech, spinning wildly. The crowd erupted in shouts, some cheering, some hissing in anger. The warlord watched, arms crossed. His glowing red eyes never left Ethan. With Lyra's guidance, Ethan kept moving, dodging claws and teeth, striking when the chance came. The shard of stone cracked in his hand, but it was enough the beast staggered, then collapsed with a heavy thud. Ethan stood over it, chest heaving, sweat dripping down his face. The leader of the silver-armored guards stepped forward. First, test passed. The crowd murmured again, louder this time. The second gate opened. Ethan expected another monster. Instead, a wave of heat hit him, so intense it made his skin prickle. The arena floor shifted, panels sliding away to reveal glowing pits of molten metal. Narrow black stone pillars rose up, some barely wide enough to stand on. The test of endurance, the leader announced. Cross. Before the fire rises, Ethan stepped forward, but Lyra caught his hand. We do this together. They leaped onto the first pillar. The heat was suffocating. The molten metal bubbled below, sending up bursts of flame. Ethan's muscles ached, but Lyra's presence in his mind steadied him. Left, she whispered, and he jumped to the next pillar. Hold, she commanded, and they froze as a jet. A fire roared up in front of them. Every move was timed to the second. Sweat blurred Ethan's vision, but Lyra's grip never loosened. When his legs trembled, her voice in his head pushed him forward. Halfway across, a pillar crumbled beneath his foot. He slipped only for Lyra to pull him up with surprising strength. You will not fall, she said firmly. Step by step, they reached the final pillar. The crowd roared as they leaped to safety. Second test passed. The leader announced. The third test was the strangest dot in the center of the arena. A small crystal platform rose from the floor. It glowed faintly, casting soft blue light across the black stone. The test of spirit, the leader said. The bond will be laid bare. Truth will decide. Ethan and Lyra stepped onto the platform together. The moment both their feet touched, the world around them dissolved. He stood in darkness. Then flashes of light. Scenes, memories, but they weren't his. He saw Lyra as a child. Sitting in a garden of silver flowers, her mother's gentle hand on her head. He saw her training with a blade, fierce determination in her young eyes. He saw her standing in a grand hall, listening as her family promised her to the warlord. Then dash pain. The night she ran, the endless fear. The leap from the bridge. Why are you showing me this? Ethan whispered. Her voice came from everywhere. Because you must know me. All of me. Then the memories changed. His own life flashed before him, his lonely cabin, the long days working, the empty nights. The moments he thought no one would ever need him. You saved me, Lyra's voice whispered. But you also saved yourself. He didn't know what to say. All he knew was the warmth that filled his chest, the same warmth from the river. The same that had guided his steps in the trials. The darkness faded, and they were back in the arena, still standing on the glowing platform, their hands linked. The leader's voice rang out. The third test passed. The bond is true. The crowd erupted into shouts, some in celebration, others in fury. The warlord's eyes blazed, his grip tightening on his sword. This is not over, he growled. Lyra stepped in front of Ethan, her voice sharp. Yes, it is. By law, no one may challenge the bond again. The warlord's glare lingered, but he turned away, his black armor glinting as he stalked toward his ship. Ethan let out a slow breath, realizing for the first time that his hands were still shaking. Lyra looked up at him, her eyes softer now. You are mine, and I am yours. He didn't know if that was a promise or a warning, maybe both. The bond sealed the arena was still buzzing long after the warlord left. Ethan stood in the center, breathing hard, the heat of the trial still in his muscles. Around him, the alien crowd murmured in low voices, their glowing eyes following his every move. Some looked at him with respect, others with hatred. Lyra hadn't let go of his hand. Since the final test ended, the leader of the silver-armored guards stepped forward. The trial of the husband is complete. The bond is true. By the law of our people, you, Ethan of Earth, are recognized as the life mate of Princess Lyra. His voice echoed through the arena. Ethan didn't know what to say, but he just nodded, trying to keep his face steady, even though his heart felt like it was racing faster than the beast from the first trial. The guards knelt in unison, their armor clinking softly. The crowd, reluctantly, bowed their heads. Lyra stepped in front of Ethan, her silver hair catching the violet light of the alien sky. Now, the ceiling. Two robed elders approached, carrying a small black box. One of them opened it, revealing a thin, curved blade and a crystal that glowed with a deep, golden light. Ethan raised an eyebrow. Ceiling? That sounds permanent. It is, Lyra said softly. Once done, our lives are bound until the stars burn out. He gave a short, nervous laugh. No pressure. Then? The elder handed the blade to Lyra. She held it carefully, then turned to him. Hold out your hand. Ethan hesitated, then extended his palm. Lyra made a small cut, just enough to draw blood. The golden crystal pulsed brighter. She pressed it to the cut, and a warmth spread through his entire arm. Then his chest, symbol's delicate glowing lines peered on his skin, curling around his wrist like a band of light. The glow sank into his skin, leaving a faint golden mark that pulsed in time with his heartbeat. Ethan stared at it. So, that's it. Lyra smiled faintly. Now, no one can deny you are mine. The elder spoke again. The seal is eternal. To harm one is to harm the other. To betray the bond is death. Ethan glanced at Lyra. No backing out now, huh? She tilted her head. Would you want to? He didn't answer right away, but something in her eyes, the same mix of fire and vulnerability he'd seen since the river, made him shake his head. No, I wouldn't. Later, they walked together through the alien city. The crystal towers reflected the light of the twin moons above, casting long shadows across the smooth streets. Aliens stepped aside as they passed, some bowing slightly, others glaring in silence. Not. Everyone is happy about this, Ethan murmured. They will accept it, Lyra replied. They have no choice. He gave a small chuckle. Yeah, but the warlord didn't exactly look like he was ready to give up. Lyra's expression darkened. He will try again. But the law is clear. He cannot challenge the bond. To do so would turn the people against him. Good, Ethan said. I'm getting tired of people trying to kill me. They reached a balcony overlooking the city. From here, Ethan could see for miles the glowing streets, the crystal towers, the distant mountains under the alien sky. It was beautiful, in a way he couldn't have imagined back on Earth. Lyra stood beside him, silent for a while. Then she spoke, her voice softer. When I fell from the bridge, I thought it was the end. I was ready for it. Ethan turned to look at her. Why? Her eyes shimmered faintly in the moonlight. Because I was alone. Because my life was no longer mine. But then, you caught me. She met his gaze, and you didn't let go. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The sounds of the city below seemed far away. Ethan smiled faintly. Guess I'm not the letting go type. Lyra stepped closer, her voice barely above a whisper. Good, because neither am I. She placed her hand over the golden mark on his wrist, and he felt the warmth again, the same warmth from the moment he pulled her from the river. It wasn't just heat, it was connection, a bond deeper than words. Under the alien moons, they stood together, two lives now bound by fate, law, and something neither had expected. Choice, far above the city, in the shadow of the mountains, the Black Warlord's ship lingered inside. The warlord watched the city through a viewing screen, his red eyes glowing with silent rage. His voice was low, cold. The bond may protect him from our law, he said to the armored figures at his side. But there are other ways to break a chain. He turned away, the glow of his armor fading into darkness. Back on the balcony, Ethan felt a faint chill run through him. He didn't know why, but Lyra's grip on his hand tightened. Whatever comes, she said quietly, we face it together. He nodded. Yeah, together. And for the first time since this began, Ethan wasn't just reacting, wasn't just surviving. He was ready.